Hello?
Hello.
Hello! So did you watch it again
Yeah,
today?
yeah. I had the
Yay!
time, so I thought I should refresh my memory.
Always. The live one?
Was that?
The live one or like the
Yeah,
cartoon one? Animation.
the live one with Johnny
Live
Depp.
one. Okay. So what are we talking about today?
Alice in Wonderland.
This should be so good. I'm so excited for this. Okay. I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing with this either. This is probably just going on my podcast channel. But
I don't know either,
what's
so this is new for both of us.
and the Zoom thing? I've never like recorded on Zoom, so that's crazy. Anyways, so this is Austin.
Hello.
Who are you, Austin?
Uh, I'm just a dude. I live in Pennsylvania. I
Huh.
met Shanelle in Nicaragua.
Well,
There you go.
okay, see, you know who you are. Like Alice is like at the start, she like doesn't know who she is. And the guy's like, are you stupid? You don't even know who you are. How do you want me to help you?
Stupid girl.
That was one of my quotes that I wrote down because I think that was essential. Anyway, let's start out with your favorite quote from the movie.
My favorite quote from the movie is, "You could always paint the roses red." And I love that quote because it's such a simple answer. And there's so many times where we try to like overthink things and we try to make things complex when you could just have this simple answer that no one thinks of that would solve your problem.
Wait, I don't even remember that. Wait, Kate, you can always paint the elaborate on that quote.
So when they're walking through the garden in the beginning with her, uh, the Hamish's mom, she goes, "These idiots, I asked for red roses and they gave me white roses." And Alice says, "Well, you could always paint them red."
Mmm.
And then later in the movie, it shows her with the Red Queen painting roses red.
How did I miss this? Because in real life, translating, if you think everything's wrong, you can always just paint it how you want it. Or
I
what
think
do you think the takeaway from that is?
so. My takeaway from that was that we overcomplicate everything, and a lot of times we're trying to find the solution, and the answer is just right in front of us. Just go with the easy,
Um,
the easy answer. It's like just paint them red. But we're so caught up in our brain and like, oh no, you can't do that. Why can't you? It
mhm.
gets the job done. It's an easy, I don't want to say it's an easy fix because it's arguably more challenging than just buying red roses, but I think the moral I got from it was just kind of get out of your own way and just do it. Just
Mm, get out of your own way.
yeah.
For real. No, that's like the biggest. I feel like I'm a very big person to do that. Like, I feel like I overcomplicate a bunch of stuff. And then it takes one person to just be like, well, why don't you just, I don't know, like go to the store and get something to make, like, I don't know, they just have a simple solution. And then I'm like full force into it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Okay, let's go. Like, but I just need that like voice. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes so much sense because I can get so lost in like my head and like trying to make everything perfect and like don't make the wrong move and stuff. But
I've found that a lot of times I will try and like think around the problem. I'm like, okay, well, this is the problem, but I have to think like around it. Like, so if this doesn't work, I have to do this and then this and then
mm,
this. Instead of just thinking directly to the problem, I'm like going around it and then trying to end up back there and just making my life harder when I could
mm,
just go straight to the problem.
for real. I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like I've been around a lot of kids that just have just been so dramatic with stuff, like crazy dramatic. Like today we were gonna clean up with one kid and he just starts like screaming that he doesn't want to clean up, but then he does it anyways. Like it's not like he's fighting it, he's just screaming like it's the worst day ever. And then he has to put on his coat and he's just screaming. He's like, I don't want to put on my coat. And then I tell him an easy way to do it so it's not complicated. And he's like, I don't want to do it that way. And he started freaking out. I'm like, you don't have to do it that way. And I'm just trying to make my life easier for you. But it's just, I don't know. I think that's so true. Like we naturally try to get in our heads and just, I don't know. Why do you think we do that? Like, why do you think we
I
live more in our heads these days specifically?
I think like as adults we're kind of taught to be serious and think about things, and sometimes you need to just be like the Bible says, like unto children. And I
Hmm.
think children view things so simply. It's just, I have this problem, I have this solution. And we're so accustomed to like thinking about what ifs, like, oh, what if my car breaks down? I have to have enough money to make sure that I can deal with that. Or what if this doesn't work out? What if I don't get this job? I have to interview at another job. I have to put multiple applications out. When a child would just go into it and say, I want this job, I'm going to go get this job.
Hmm.
And I, I think that we've trained our minds to overthink things when sometimes we need to just go for it, just full send, as you said.
Hmm. And whatever happens, happens, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
I, I found I've been more good at stuff like drawing and like music and everything that involves passion and like a lot of practice. I found that I've been a lot better since I've stopped caring. Like when I've took out the prison of perfectionism, like, oh my goodness, this needs to look perfect. It's like it genuinely, like the outcome genuinely is a lot greater. It's not perfect. It's not exactly what I wanted, but it's better because different things come from it that I didn't see coming. And I like surprise
Yeah.
myself. And life is just so exciting that way.
I found two things. I mean, I took guitar lessons at one point, and the first thing our teacher said is he said, you are not going to be good at guitar for a month, for 3 months, possibly even a year. And you have to accept that, or you're never going to be good at guitar.
Ooh, that's solid advice right there.
Yeah. And sometimes too, I think the failure is the point. There were a lot of times recently where I had planned to do something with someone, and we're driving there and I missed like 3 turns, and she's like, "Nope, we're not going anymore. This is a sign we're not meant to go here." And then I forget what it was, but on the way back home, we saw a sign for something and we're like, that looks really cool. And we went to it and we wound up having more
Ooh,
fun at the thing that was given to us
yeah.
than the thing that we thought we wanted.
God's plans
So
are so much bigger.
yeah, I think that sometimes we have to have the failures to find the wins. And another thing too, like you said, when I stopped caring, I think the easiest way to look at it is, does it make you happy? Like you can be terrible at something, but if it makes you happy, it's worth it.
Yeah. Like I agree with you. That's something I really, really, really struggled with though. Like if I wasn't good at something, I'd be like, oh, it's not my thing to do. Like I'll work on something else. Like it's it's fine. And then I'd move forward. Even if I really loved it, I'm like, well, people are gonna just think I'm ridiculous for trying. But it doesn't matter because if I spend my whole life sucking at something, but I'm happy because I'm doing it,
Yeah,
like why does it matter? Like
yeah.
we're only here for a short time. Like might as well, I don't know,
I
not live it to please people.
yeah. And they I mean there are plenty of quotes in the movie about doing what other people think you should do and about pleasing other people. And I mean he says like she says this outlandish vision and he's like, you should keep your visions to yourself. When in doubt, keep your mouth shut.
I wrote that quote down.
Oh, remain silent. That's what it was. And I just like, we're so taught to not express our feelings and not cause waves.
Hmm.
And I think that's totally wrong because that's kind of creating a world where communication is taboo.
Hmm.
And you should always be able to communicate with people. I mean, I know you said before that sometimes you feel like you're being too much, which also brought me to another quote that I love.
I think that's
Um,
where Alice in Wonderland came from, to be honest.
yes, yeah, that's what where it says you were much more muchier and you've lost your muchness. And I think
And she was
that,
small at that point. She was also small at that point. But anyways, go on.
yes, I think we get so caught up on like what other people think that we stop being ourselves. And you need to just keep your muchness and realize that the people who are meant to be in your life will love you at your muchiest. And the
Hmm.
people who don't aren't worth your time.
Literally, like that's such a boring way to live. Like when she started out in the live action one, when she started out at the ball or at the arranged marriage ceremony or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and she goes into this land, which to be honest, the first time I watched it, I was like not really being kept up with what was going on, and I was just flabbergasted what was going on. And then I put the subtitles on, and that helped. But anyways, at the end of the movie, when she ended up in that place, like I felt my heart just like kind of get small again, and because it's like I know that feeling of being in that mode and then going back to reality, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, but we need to train ourselves to be in the space of curiosity and wonder and compassion and just light all the time, right? Like I think that's
And
what we were made for.
I think too, you can create that own reality. It's like they always Steve Johnson, who used to lead the trips before John and Heather did,
Uh-huh.
used to always say, we always wait for the kingdom, but why not start now? Like why not try to make it now? And then when he comes back, there's less work for him to do. And I think that, so many times we're just like, I don't really like this. And it's like, well, then change it. Do something different. What are you going to do about it? If you don't like your
Mm-hmm.
life, do the life you like.
For real, it's
And
that easy.
yeah. And if you don't care what other people think, you can be the happiest person in the world.
Mm-hmm. Which some people hear that and I feel they feel like, okay, but if I choose all that, then everyone else in reality around me, like they're not gonna, like their lives just aren't like that. So how can I connect with people? Like it's harder to find people like that, though, is the other thing. And you almost
Yeah,
need
but
to surround yourself with them to be able to keep on in a way.
they also say what is for you will find you. And I think if you are so vastly different, if you're so kind of separate, like if the Mad Hatter walked down the street,
Mm-hmm.
you'd have two sides of people. You'd have the people who would go, that guy's weird, I'm going to stay away from him. And then you'd have the people who are like, I like that guy. And I think
Just
when
like
you're
seeing what
doing
he's
what
gonna do.
you, yeah, I think when you're doing what you love openly, it's going to attract the people who have the same loves.
That's true. Yeah, like what you are. There's like a quote for that, but I can't think of it right now. It's like what you what you become, you attract. I don't know, but it's
Yes.
like this whole concept of like vibrations and like what you bring out to the world, like people grasp onto that.
Well,
But
they do have the whole thing about high vibration and low vibration, and high vibration attracts other high vibration and like subconsciously dispels low vibration.
mhm,
So if you're like a high vibration person and you're just around people who are complaining all the time and gossiping, you're going to realize that like you don't want that, and you're
yeah,
going to subconsciously push that away.
or you'll become like that,
Yeah, or you become like that.
which
But
is
then when you're really high
easier to do.
vibration,
But when you're really high vibration, people go to you. True.
yeah.
Okay, what else do we have? I realized most of my quotes were at the beginning and they're very negative. Like I feel like it triggered my
Well,
mind on every negative one.
I think most of the good quotes were actually at the beginning.
You
And
think?
I think as it got further along, it kind of stopped. Not as much. They had some hidden gems in there, but um, I loved the quote that said, "Who's to say what is proper? What if it was agreed that wearing a codfish on your head was proper? Would you wear a codfish on your head?"
But the thing is, they probably would
Yeah,
because it's
they
what everyone else
probably
is
would.
doing. Because she's like, that's what these nets are to me. Like she's like, and I don't like it. Like we get so conformed with that. I like that quote because it literally started the twist of the movie. You
Yeah.
know, like her dad kind of said some stuff that was kind of off the norm, but then, and he kind of gave her some quotes, like saying, oh, he had a really good quote too when he said to her before she went to sleep and she's scared of her dreams. He's like, oh yeah,
Uh,
you've gone insane or you've gone mad.
oh, yeah. Totally off the rails, bonkers.
Yeah.
Let me
Like the
tell you
best
the best
people.
secret. The best people are.
That's
Yeah.
good. And it's true. Like nobody wants to be, I mean, okay, a lot of people want to be around people who will say what they want to hear and just keep moving on. Life is smooth sailing and like it's safe that way. But it's just not colorful at all. And you live your life in fear of that breaking. You hold on to everything good because, well, if that leaves, then yeah, I have nothing left. Like,
If you look at like since we're watching Disney movies, if you look at if you watch Moana, you know her grandmom is
that's my
that
show.
crazy village crazy person, but she's the
Who I
happiest
aspire to be.
person. Yeah. Rafiki in The Lion King, the craziest person, but the happiest. You look at all the people who have their own mold, do what is typically seen as crazy and weird, and they're separate from everyone else. But those people are the happiest because they're living
Hmm.
the life that they want and they don't care what other people think.
Hmm. Well, and here's the thing, like those people, it's not like they're just out of left field and just don't care about anybody. They're the most like they're not scared to give out love to everyone, you know,
Yeah.
and they're not scared to just suppress themselves down because sometimes we think that we have to so that we don't get hurt again or be so we don't get abandoned or whatever. But I feel like in Christ being made new, to me, that's kind of like what you were saying before in that like Christ, you should almost feel like Christ is reigning now in your body, like in your mind, of being a genuine person, like going to the people who seem like outcasts or whatever because they have the most colorful heart. Like you get to know them and kind of this sparks this sense of like Christ went out even though everyone was against him. Everyone thought he was crazy. Everyone thought he was saying crazy things. And then he'd be sitting with the people who needed him most, you know,
But
but
you also look at who he picked too, and he
mm-hmm,
picked the like the most stereotypically hated people
mm-hmm,
to follow him and to do his parables, like the Samaritan. The Samaritans were not looked upon in good manner, and the Samaritan is the hero of that story. He had a tax collector with him. I mean, Paul alone literally did the opposite of what Jesus
mm-hmm,
wanted and then turned around and was probably one of his most faithful people. And I think that's the beauty of it too. Like he appeared to women first, and women
mm-hmm.
were not viewed in high regard back then either. So he picked the people that were the outcasts, the
And
most hated, and he raised them up.
yeah, and he showed them respect. Like
Yeah.
money and titles that didn't decide who he was going to respect. Like he showed the people who were low in the world standards respect, and he's like, let's talk. Like what's going on? Like, and he was a great friend to them, and those are the people that got to experience Jesus. It wasn't the people that were on the high horse, kind of bragging to everyone else that they had God and the other people didn't. Like those weren't the people that got to know Jesus because they never needed Jesus. They had their own thing going on. Like they have their own title.
I mean, there's countless Bible verses about that. There's the woman who donated the penny, and that's all she
Uh,
had, and he said this lady gave more. There's the man. This is always the most emotional part in the Bible for me when the Pharisee is like belittling this man, and the man says he beats his chest and says, "Forgive me, Lord, for I am a sinner." And he says that person was more redeemed. And I've always related with that one. That one always hits me in the feels.
mm-hmm. That's awesome. Like I feel like these are all my favorite Bible passages. Like I feel like it's all just like coming together. I love it.
I think
All
because
from
we can
Disney.
relate to them.
Yeah. Like and I really, really, really valued Disney. 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 I think I love it so much because the main characters usually are a type of Christ. In the sense, like, they're kind of separate from other people, and it's more about just being in the heart opposed to the mind and the ego and everything that just gets us into trouble. Is that bad to say? Is that
No, I mean they always say Joseph is a type of Christ, and it's the same kind of story where you take someone who was in a dark pit and he's then raised up.
mm,
And I think so many movies, the main character is someone you wouldn't expect, or
yeah.
someone who is frowned upon, and or even like the main support characters, like you said, show love and caring to someone who doesn't typically get it. And those are some
Mm,
of the most loyal people you will ever meet in your life,
yeah.
and some of the most interesting. And all they needed was just someone to care enough
Hmm.
to let them open up. There are so many people who, once they open up, are the most beautiful people in the world, but they never open up
Because they
because
don't even see it.
no one showed them it's okay to.
Yeah. And it just takes that one person
Yeah.
to
It just
act like
takes
that.
one act of kindness to let someone know that someone cares about you.
I live by that.
There was a story, and this guy was about to jump off a bridge and end his life. And they asked him why he stopped, and he said, because a passerby smiled at me.
Ooh.
And it's that's all it takes sometimes. It's just, a hug on a bad day. I had someone, um, a little bit about what I went through this year, but I
Hmm.
had someone who at work showed up. I lost 15 pounds this year, and he showed up to work, and instead of going, "Wow, you're so skinny," or that, he was like, "Hey, what are we having for breakfast today? Hey, what did you eat for breakfast today?" And it was just, it hit me so hard because he was saying, "I care about you. I notice you haven't been eating. I want you to eat more." But he wasn't doing it in a way that made me feel lesser or subconscious about it. He was just like, "Hey, what are we getting for breakfast today?
What are
What did you
we?
eat this morning?"
Hmm.
Yeah.
He like
And
came down with you.
yeah, and it just, that was so helpful for me. I was throwing away lunch sometimes, and someone commented on it. My boss said, "Will you just let him eat?" And it's just like little things like that, or just things that showed you care, really helped me get through some of the darkest days.
Hmm.
And it really didn't take any effort from the people who did it.
Hmm.
And I think there's so many cases where someone just needs a smile, or how you doing, or an invite to an event, and they just transform into this whole nother
Hmm.
creature.
Even if they don't think, like, if they think you're gonna say no, like, oh, he's been saying no for the past like 5 months, I'm not gonna ask him. It's like, okay, but you also know that maybe we really like when you ask us. Maybe this is the time that we're gonna be like, yes, let's go. Like, it makes all the difference in the world. That's what.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know Tony Robbins at all? Or probably have we
Um,
talked about this?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you.
Okay, he's just a very motivational speaker. I don't think he's religious. I don't know, but my coach got me doing this. It's like this meditation thing, and basically it's grabbing moments from your past and then moments of your future and just trying to get to your optimal state before you do something really big and scary and something that you know is gonna be really hard on your soul. And one of the things is like you have to grab three like memories from your past that you're so grateful for, and then you have to like live through it and just like feel what you're feeling, and it like taps you into that place of gratitude and like knowing God will always come through. And so I noticed majority of my moments were moments that I was really going through it, and I was feeling like I was just in this dark place, and it was someone who just, it was the slightest thing, but it was like, I think it'd be a lot of fun if you come. Like we'd be fine if you don't, you know, like we're doing our thing, but I think it would be a lot more fun if you came or whatever. Like just little things like that. Or just people telling me like it's okay to be sad. Like people telling me like it's okay to be in the state, like I'll sit with you in it. Like those are the moments that I was so grateful for. And to them it probably wasn't that big a deal. They probably do that to everyone. But to me it was like, wow, someone actually cares. And like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had one recently where I texted I played a board game with these people every weekend. We haven't really gotten to it recently, but I still text them and I said, you know, I'm feeling really subconscious today. I'm feeling really it's really hard to be with my thoughts today and I feel kind of lonely. And one of the people in the group texted me and they said, "Hey, we're going to pick up this girl at the airport. Do you want to come with us?" And I said, "I would love that." And then when I got in the car, she's like, "What's going on? What are you going through?" And
Oh.
just like little things like that, that like, you know, it didn't take any extra effort to show that you care.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do this thing with some of the people that I really care about where I just send them a bird emoji, and and it came from this thing that said it was a post, and it said I just called to say I love you, and it had a crow.
Oh.
So sometimes I'll check in with people with just a little black bird emoji, and it doesn't require a response. I don't expect a response. I don't. Sometimes I don't even want a response because I'm not necessarily in a place to be supportive to someone, but it's just
Yeah.
a nice little check-in to go, hey, I'm thinking about you and I care. I just called to say I love you. Um,
Aw.
and that's one thing that I've been trying to do more recently. I've been slacking a little, but
Yeah.
uh,
That's a cool
I
one.
also send my group text. I just say wellness check, and then I just back away and let them say, hey, you know, I'm not having a great day, or hey, I'm having a great day. And then I've started this conversation and everyone in the group is contributing and I'm just sitting back now.
Oh, that's
There's
awesome.
so many little things you can do that don't really take any effort, but just let someone know that you're thinking about them.
Yeah. Well, and that's also it doesn't like they don't have to go really out of their way to do that kind of stuff. Like it because sometimes you don't know how to check in with someone or you don't know how to kind of give them support without giving them a full day of your time. You know? Like
Yeah,
it's so it's like, oh, well, I don't know how much I want to give right now, so I can't really check in on them. But it's like
yeah.
just show them you care. Another thing that I heard, I think this year maybe, have you it's like the temperature check and
I
it's when you meet up with some people like so we learned this in a staff meeting and she told us to try to get this going within our coworkers and it's basically your temperature is 0 to 10 in stress, 10 being the highest, and then 0 to 10 in okay but how are you doing like overall. And then so it's not just like, oh, I'm good and then move forward because I can be good, but they didn't know my stress levels were at a 10 because everything's going on. So then if they were to ask me for something, like I just am incapable of doing it, even though I'm doing okay. But that like really gave me, it gives kind of language to that. And I really like that. I want to use that more often.
It's a good one.
Just like asking people, what's your temperature today? So you don't
What's
overbear
your
them.
social battery?
What's your battery? Do you have time for
Yeah.
a rant or no? Yeah.
What percentage of charge are you at?
Literally. Because then you know how to approach the person,
Yeah.
right? Know what they need. Okay, I'm trying to think what other quotes I have that I didn't write down because I feel like these ones just aren't doing it. Oh, okay.
I
Sorry, I
go
have
for
one.
it.
Hatter, he looked back to when his world crashed and burned.
Yeah.
And at first, I was gonna, like, I kind of thought that's when his craziness came from, which is also him kind of returning to his self and his soul. And it took that to happen. But then I thought maybe that's not even a case because he was really happy before.
Yeah, but you can be happy and crazy. Who's to say
That's
he
true.
became crazy?
Well, no, but like I feel like there is some symbolism in the crashing and burning. Like I feel like good things can come from big things that happen in our life. Like
I did,
positive things.
yeah. I did notice with him though, he's kind of splintered after that. Like he has the Scottish accent and then he has the normal accent and then he has all those times where he kind of like freaks out and everyone calls him on it. And that kind of was weird to me too because it's like you're kind of telling him not to let his emotions out. And then you even hear him go, "I'm fine." Like he's trying to squeeze them back in.
He knows it's
And
like
I was
socially unacceptable.
Yeah, and that kind of jumped out to me too because I was like, you can't. There's so many times too where you just like you blow off someone, and then they come to you because they need to get something out, and you blow them off, and then they're never gonna come back to you again, um, because you've shown that you don't have the time, or you don't care, or you are not safe to
Hmm.
share with anymore.
Hmm. And then if one person does that, then every person you come by now, you have to, okay, I need to keep these to myself because I don't want that to happen again
Yeah.
because you need safe people.
Yeah. And if this person wasn't going to do it, then why is this random stranger going to do it?
Yeah. And which is true. Like it's fair. Like a lot of people don't know how to be safe. I don't think it's that they choose not to be safe, but they don't have the skills or awareness to not give you advice. Like that's what they feel they have to do, or not to just push, like try to get you better right away, because that's not what we're built for. We're built to go through the process, the messiness.
I think a big thing though is that people weren't taught to do it. I was telling my mom something very traumatic recently, and I was sitting there crying, and she sat there and she said, "I don't know what to say." And then she said, "I hope you're more careful next time." And she didn't hug me or anything. And I love my mom. My mom is has been such a big part of stability for me. When I was first diagnosed with depression and I was having anxiety attacks all the time, panic attacks, I got into a car accident and she looked at me and she said, "We're going to get you some help." And she drove me to therapy every
Oh,
Monday and she sat in the lobby and she read or she did puzzles or something like that. So I don't want you to think that my mom is
yeah,
um,
no.
not supportive at all. But um, a lot of times that's her answer. I don't know what to say, or I'm sorry that happened. I don't have a solution for you. And my father has never really been emotionally available either. So I was thinking about some of the times that I tried to comfort someone and didn't know how to, and then realized that, like, how often was I shown how to do that myself? So
Mhm.
how am I supposed to then turn around and do it to someone else when I don't know how to do it myself? And I think a lot of times there's just this expectation that people know how to do it. And a lot of times you don't know what they were taught or what their life's like.
Mhm.
And we set expectations that people can't live up to because they were never shown.
Yeah, that's, I think a lot of people relate to that, to be honest, because I think they've all been there with somebody, or maybe they're the person that's like that. Like I feel like I don't know, like I really treasure when people are able to be really aware and have reflected on this and are able to communicate to the people close to them what they need in
Yeah.
some capacity. Like even so, this is just a thing when I went to my parents' house. My mom's thing is she'll put a magic bag in the microwave and she'll hide it under my bed. So by the time I go to sleep, it's like there. And like this has been happening for like years now. And it's like I just really, really, really like it's just like just a little thing of love that she sends. And when it's not there, sometimes I'll like peep open. But it's just like something little that it's like I know she cares and she thought of me and she wanted to go the extra mile for me. But sometimes I needed to really like, oh, like that's really thoughtful of you to do that. Like
Yeah.
you really don't have to do that. But I'm just like always cold, so she just tries to. I don't know. Like it's just if you're able to communicate to people, like, oh, I really liked how you did, like that really made me feel better. Like thank you for showing up. I really really appreciate that. Like that's how you build for yourself those people, that community, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes they never know if that was helpful, if that wasn't helpful, and then they don't do it again, and you're like, well, I lost my support system. They didn't show up that time.
But
But it's
also
like,
sometimes people don't know what bothers you. I had a
yeah,
friend who would always like I'd be talking to someone else and he'd always chime in and talk over me, which is ironic because I kind of just talked over you a little and I'm sorry.
no, you're good.
Um and one day I just like and I would shut down because I'd be like, okay, what I have to say is not important, apparently.
Mm,
And one day I said to him, I said, it really discourages me when you just talk over me because it
yes, I
makes me
love that
feel
you
like
said that.
yeah, I'm like, it just makes me feel like what I have to say is not important. And sometimes, actually, I think the conversation started because I just walked away and he's like, where you going? Come back. And I was like, well, I don't feel like you guys care what I'm saying. And he made a point of, really trying. And sometimes he'd still interrupt me and he'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, Austin, what do you think about this?
Oh, that's awesome. So he wanted to
And
grow with you.
yeah, and sometimes all it take like people don't notice that they do things to you.
Yeah.
And I think it's so easy to be like, wow, that guy's such a jerk.
And live in our
When
pain.
yeah, when in reality a lot of times people are just ignorant and not
Mhm.
I don't mean that in a negative connotation. They just don't know. They just don't see it. They're just I had this thought I want to tell everyone. And I'm sorry that thought overdid your thought, and I didn't think about that. And I think you just have to tell people things,
I
or you're just
resonate.
gonna be unhappy.
She said that her father always thought of six impossible things before breakfast. What are impossible things? Being raised from the dead. What are impossible things? Feeding 5,000 people with two loaves and five fishes. What's another impossible thing? A barren woman who's very old having a child. God can do such great things, but if we just believe. Thank you so much, Austin, for being a part of this. I appreciate your mindset. I feel like he's very just not attached. He's like, look, just show up in life and just what resonates with him. In Nicaragua, he's always like dancing randomly, and it was just like, all right, he's cool. Like I can like trust him. He's not afraid to be ridiculous. When I'm around a bunch of people that are afraid to be ridiculous, I'm all of a sudden afraid to be ridiculous. So like, I treasure people like him. Anyways, that is all. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm still doing coaching calls. If you would like to sign up with me, creating wellness plans for you and trying to figure out what we need to get rid of in your life and what we need to add to your life, and then just constantly document all these different things and try to get kickstart like a good plan for your life to like get out of our rut that we put ourselves in sometimes. Grounding and comfort so we can spread our wings and go forth. Anyways, have a wonderful rest of your day. Love you so much for listening. I appreciate you. I hope this was helpful and God bless. Okay, we have less than a minute. Can you sum up what we can take from Alice in Wonderland?
Okay, so I have one more quote, and
Okay.
it's going to tie into this.
Yes.
She said, "I'm wondering what it would be like to fly." And
Oh,
someone once told me that bees are biologically not supposed to be able to fly. And the person who was telling me this said, but they do because no one told them they couldn't. And I think that is a great summary of this movie. They said, she said, this is impossible. And the Mad Hatter said, only if you believe it is.